Hey everyone, this podcast is part of Story Mode, the podcast network of Gamefully Unemployed. You can support us and gain access to other great exclusive podcasts at patreon.com/gamefullyunemployed. That's patreon.com/GAMEFULLY unemployed, which is spelled like it sounds.
There can be only one.
Let yourself feel the stack. Talk.
Super cool.
Oh yeah, man.
We're a
Super
couple
excited for this.
Yeah, we're a couple cool guys.
We're a couple of real cool guys about to talk about Highlander. For 40 to 50 minutes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Who knows? Maybe it'll go longer. Maybe
I don't think so. I do not anticipate that happening.
All right, that's fair. I'm going to leave all this in. I think we've started, right?
Okay, have we started?
I don't know. This is our first episode.
That's true.
We're really, we're digging in. We're pioneers right now. Mm-hmm. Is what we are. This is folks. This is called Princes of the Universe. This is a Highlander podcast. It just.
I feel like we've earned that title.
Princes of the Universe?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we're definitely, we're two princes.
We're at least Vicomtes of the universe.
Yeah.
Oh, no, yeah, we're definitely two princes.
We're definitely two princes. I don't know the lyrics to that song.
We probably should.
I wish I did.
So when I get sued.
Oh, no, I just, guys, this is brought to you. This is an exclusive podcast series.
Yeah, this is a mini series. Another white hot mini series.
I know. It's. I'm very excited. It's brought to you by our Patreon producer James Rainey. He wanted he wanted to share his Discord handle Ramble Rouser, which is a pretty good one.
Not bad. Pretty good one. Not bad. That's a solid name.
Many thanks to James for making this happen. James has made us watch the Highlander movies, which I guess there are about 6. We might only cover 4 of them.
There's 4.
4? Really?
I think so.
Oh, okay. Well, then,
I think
we're good to go.
there's only 4 official ones.
Oh, okay. Well, that's perfect.
Yeah. I think there's a few fan-made ones, but...
So this is episode 1, therefore it's the first Highlander, which is, when was this made?
1986.
1986, starring Christopher Lambert.
Why would you ever say Lambert?
It's Lambert, like Stephen Colbert, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And,
why would you say Lambert, though? Hold on. Nothing about the way that is spelt or pronounced in any language would make you say Lambert.
Yeah, it's true.
Why did you do that?
Just for fun. Just for funsies, Tom.
What have you done?
Now I'm gonna call him Mr. Lambert this whole time. No, Lambert. It's Stephen Colbert. It's Christopher Lambert. That's how you remember it. Also, Roxanne Hart's in this. Clancy Brown is really in this.
Clancy Brown is 110,000% in this film.
This is his masterpiece.
This is such a Clancy Brown film.
Yeah, and Sean Connery.
Sure, Sean Connery who's a role that is always smaller than I remember it.
Yes. Oh, for sure.
It's little more than a cameo, and I always forget that.
Yes.
When I watch this movie,
the director of this did Resident Evil Extinction.
Yeah, Russell Mulcahy.
Yeah,
he's done a few movies.
He's specifically done The Shadow, which is pretty important.
Oof.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's not a great director, and we're going to talk about that some.
Okay.
Well, we get into this film.
Let's start. We're going to start with our first section, which we're calling Whatlander, which is just explaining the plot. But first, I want to start with Tom. What is your relationship to the Highlanders movies in general?
Well, I've only seen Highlander 2 like maybe 2 or 3 times. I saw Highlander whichever is the third one with Mario Van Peebles in it. I only saw that one once, and I didn't see the last one, which had both Christopher Lambert and the guy from the show, Duncan MacLeod. Didn't see that one. But this first one I've seen a lot, and I've been watching this movie since I was a kid.
Oh, okay. That's delightful. I have kind of the opposite experience. I've never seen the sequels, and I've only seen this movie maybe a couple times. So I have less nostalgia for this series.
I don't have a huge amount of nostalgia for it. It's interesting. I watched it a handful of times as a kid because I thought it was super cool. And then, since I hit my teens, I've seen it probably about once every 10 years.
Okay.
Once a decade.
That's fair.
Yeah.
It's like an event. So how do you like this movie?
I like Highlander a lot, actually.
Okay.
I think it's... I mean, we can talk about this when we get to the next section of Highlander, I suppose.
Guys, we have 3 sections. Whatlander, Highlander, and Wylander.
And you're going to learn what they all entail as we get to them.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what we did. I'll tell you what we didn't do. We definitely didn't come up with all of this right before we started recording.
No.
We absolutely didn't do that. This was very carefully thought out. This
is crafted.
Diagrams and schematics, whiteboards, lots and lots of graphs.
It's meticulous. What we do,
down to the second we've planned this out.
Yeah,
so
we're the Kubricks of podcasting.
Well, as the princes of the universe, we felt like it was our responsibility to make sure that we didn't just bullshit our way through this.
Yes.
But yeah, no, I like this movie a lot.
All right.
I don't know.
I believe you.
Yeah.
I don't hate this movie. I just
it makes me think of it's very much the fantasy version of the Terminator. It's like
well, to the point that the first sequence. Sorry, to the point that the first sequence is just like, oh, he's going to run into Sarah Connor in this parking garage.
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah. But go
except
on.
It's a parking garage at Madison Square Garden, I believe.
Right, it's just a smoky Terminator parking garage. It's an 80s parking garage.
Yeah,
that's all.
It's the filming of it. It's basically somebody saw the Terminator and was like, what if we did this, like this 80s noir, vaguely cyberpunk. This is not as cyberpunk as Terminator is, but it's like, what if we did this kind of grimy 80s noir aesthetic, but did it with fantasy instead of science fiction.
Right.
And you get Highlander.
You do get Highlander out of that.
You super get Highlander out of that equation.
What? And we'll get to this with our final section. What surprised me the most watching this again was how little it explains what's going on.
Yeah, to a degree. I'm not
saying that I was confused. Yeah. It wasn't confusing. It was just when they're talking about like the quickening and they're talking about like these events, and I will get to this in Highlander because there's a little bit of explanation in that. But when it gets to like, and we're all going to meet up and stuff like that, and it was just like, why? Why is any of this happening?
I mean, there is an explanation for it. It's delivered in a single sentence, but but there is an explanation.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
well, we'll definitely get to that.
I mean, it's all fantasy bullshit.
Yes, it is. Should we?
It's a lot of chosen one mumbo jumbo.
Yeah, I mean, there can be
only just one, which is funny because Connor makes so many friends.
I was about to say it doesn't seem like that's true. Like, because there's several of them. They've been around for a long time. So why can there only be one? There's many of them. There's not just one.
New ones keep getting made too. That's an interesting point. Like Connor MacLeod, who's Christopher Lambert, is like one of the youngest ones.
Yeah, that's true. So
he's only a few hundred years old.
Yeah, he So for the plot, he's a guy who was from the 1500s in the Scottish Highlands.
Yes.
Who becomes immortal. I mean, the movie opens with a wrestling match, which I want to talk about as well.
Yeah, a wrestling match in Madison Square Garden.
Yes. By this guy who looks like a half-shaved dog, and he's just like humping the air and being like, yeah, I'm so sexy, but he looks like a trucker in the 80s.
It's the Fabulous Freebirds.
Is that who that is?
Yeah.
I love it because like they keep cutting to like women in the audience and like young women.
They
like,
show a little girl
their,
like licking her lips.
Yeah, like lusting for these guys who just look like you would find their corpses in a truck station bathroom. Like they're not sexy men. I'm sorry.
I also want to point out that it's supposed to be Madison Square Garden, but it very clearly is not.
Yeah, no.
Like it's a place that's about a quarter of the size of Madison Square Garden.
I would be upset if they could get Madison Square Garden.
Oh no, this movie had a budget of $19 million.
Yeah.
Like they definitely didn't film an extended sequence inside Madison Square Garden.
Yeah. Young Christopher Lambert is he's watching the wrestling for some reason.
I don't know. He's just there.
Yeah, he's looking like
just trying to enjoy himself.
Looking like a real Aaron Eckhart.
He's looking like a lot of things. Young Christopher Lambert is just a fascinating actor.
Yes.
Like his career could have gone in a lot of directions, and then it went in the direction that it did.
What direction did it go in? Because I really only know this, Mortal Kombat, and then Ghost Rider 2, The Spirit of Vengeance.
That's kind of it.
Yeah. It's weird. It's a weird one.
Like he was in this movie. Oh crap! I can't remember what it's called now. Greystoke, I think he was in this like hot shit Tarzan reboot in the early '80s.
Oh no!
That got like some Oscar noms and shit. And then he's just kind of been in like low budget science fiction.
I mean, I'm looking him up, and he's been in hundreds of things.
Yeah, he's in a lot of movies. Like the man works.
Just not in anything I watch. He was in Fortress.
Yeah, he's in. It's a lot of low budget science fiction.
Yeah, I mean, good for him, I guess.
He's a real John Rhys Davies.
Yeah, he was in a 1999 adaptation of Beowulf.
Sure was. It's a sci-fi futuristic Beowulf.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, so he goes into he leaves the wrestling match and faces off against a man in a parking lot with swords.
Yeah.
The movie does not explain this. What we're seeing.
No.
Not that it needs to.
No, it doesn't need to. One of the things I was going to say is I bet this screenplay was really, really good.
Well,
and the direction gets a little confused.
We'll get to that in Highlander because there's a big thing about the screenplay that we have to discuss.
Okay.
That kind of explains why this is a kind of weird script. Because they have a sword fight with a guy who starts flipping for some reason. Like
he has a sword. It's like this old guy.
Yeah. He like cuts through cars with the sword and stuff.
Yeah.
Like they treat the swords like lightsabers almost.
They really do. It's kind of funny. Connor fights with a katana, but he fights with it like a dickhead.
Yeah.
Like it's an interesting thing they do in this movie is that all the different Highlanders that we see come from different parts of the world, and they're all wielding different kinds of swords.
Right.
But they all fight with them in the same way, and it's like that is not how these swords are used.
Do they
like
call
banging them together?
Right. Do they call them all Highlanders?
No.
Okay,
but, I mean,
because that's the thing is he's the only Highlander
he's from the Highlands.
The
Highlands.
It just we don't have anything else to call them.
Immortals. I think it became like a shorthand for
Right.
Immortals for fans of the franchise. I believe
because like Sean Connery's last name is Rodriguez in this, and I was like
Ramirez.
Is it Ramirez?
It's Ramirez,
and it's just like no.
And he also has a line where he calls him.
Your last name is Ramirez.
Lambert calls him. A Spanish peacock, and he says, "I'm not Spanish, I'm Egyptian." And
it's like you are you are neither of that, sir.
You're a 2,000-year-old Egyptian? Yeah.
No, you are Sean Connery.
You are Sean Connery, and
you are not even hiding the accent.
What's the funniest thing about that is that Christopher Lambert's supposed to be Scottish, and he's like. I think he's like half American, but he was raised in France, so he has this bizarre accent.
They even pointed out at one point.
Yeah, he's like, "Where are you from?"
Yeah, what is that? What is coming out of your mouth?
He's like kind of doing a Scottish accent a little bit in these flashback scenes to Sean Connery, who is full on Scottish. And he's like, I'm Egyptian. It's like, what the fuck is happening? Anyway.
So he stabs this guy in the parking lot, and all the cars start coming.
No, he chops his head off.
He chops his head off, right.
Yeah.
The cars explode. Everything explodes all around them.
Mm-hmm. And he absorbs the guy's ghost power. He Shang Tsung's him.
Yes, he does.
There's a lot of Shang Tsunging in the Highlander universe.
And a lot of, like, raidening, not just because it's...
There's some raidening, too, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They keep skipping back and forth to this future or the present day with his life in the Scottish Highlands. Mm-hmm. And they show him go to battle. And he's really sad no one will fight him, which I thought was
everybody
adorable.
refuses to fight him, yeah.
Why did nobody want to fight him?
Because the Kurgan tells them that. Did you watch this movie?
Wait, that's a part?
Yeah.
What
You're having questions about why they're meeting, and you're like, why is nobody trying to fight him? I was like, did you fucking pay attention to the movie?
I watched it with my eyes. Wait, no, this must have been something I missed.
The Kurgan, Clancy Brown, tells nobody to fight him. He's like, save him for me, because he knows.
Oh, okay.
He knows.
That makes sense.
Yeah, he knows Connor's an immortal.
So, okay, this is why it's confusing then, because this is the first time we're even told he's immortal. Then,
yes.
And does he know he's immortal?
No.
Okay.
We only know that he's somehow is alive in the 80s and was also alive hundreds of years ago. And the Kurgan doesn't say he's an immortal. He just says, save him for me.
Right. The reveal that he's immortal, when did he become immortal? Has he just always been immortal?
No, this is the weird part. It's unclear. Like, Kurgan stabs him and is about to cut his head off.
Right.
And he gets tackled by all of Connor's friends. And then, like, he recovers from his wounds. So it's unclear, like, when exactly he stops aging.
Right. And then he just sort of hangs out for a while until 40 minutes into this movie is when Sean Connery shows up and explains anything.
Right. We just know that he's lived forever and he cut somebody's head off in a parking garage.
I'm not against, but then when he does explain, he still doesn't explain enough for me to be like, oh, I see now. It all comes together, because it doesn't. Because, again, I don't know when he becomes immortal or why.
He just is.
He just is.
Yeah.
It's all right.
And then Sean Connery is like, because Christopher Lambert asked him that. He's like, Connery says, well, there's lots of us. We've been around for, thousands of years. And he's like, well, why are some of us immortal? And he's like, well, why does anything happen?
All right, we'll get to that.
Why does the sun come up?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
We meet the police, the terrible police. Including
horrible police.
Garfield, the cop, who sucks.
I wanted to throw that guy out of a building.
Yeah, I wrote the note, why are they letting Garfield exist?
Why is Garfield in the room when they're questioning him?
Yeah, why
He's just
anything?
a patrolman. He's just an angry patrolman that then assaults him.
Yeah, and makes homophobic remarks at him.
Yeah. The funniest part about that scene is that Garfield assaults Connor, and then Connor punches John Polito instead.
Yeah,
it's real funny.
The cops are terrible. There's a part later.
Yeah, the cops are ridiculous.
I wrote this down where later one of the cops on the phone and he goes, "I'm not sure what I can do about that, pal," and hangs up, and then comments like casually, "Yeah, it was this guy said his neighbor ate his dog, his Vietnamese neighbor ate his dog," and like I think that's a crime. It's like made as this weird joke. But it's someone ate somebody's dog, so they called the cops. I mean, it might just be like...
It might be a super racist person who hates their neighbor calling the cops with a bullshit report.
The joke seems ridiculously racist as well. Yeah. That said, it's someone calling the cops and saying, this person ate my dog. And the cop says, well, I don't know what to do about that, and hangs up on him. Does he know? Does he just know? I guess we don't know the conversation, because maybe the guy is like overtly racist over the phone.
Yeah, and calls a lot about his neighbor.
Okay, I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. It just seemed like a crime was being reported, and the cop was like, too bad, buddy, and hung up on him. Mm-hmm. But you're right. We don't know.
It was like a paranoid wives' tale at the time.
Yeah,
Or,
that's the thing. It was like an 80s stereotype.
Right, like Chinese restaurants would take stray animals and
Right.
put them in the food. Like that was a dumb thing that went around back then.
Right. And I guess I couldn't tell what the movie was trying to say with that.
I don't know. The movie is
Because it was like, wait, okay, in the world of the movie, because the movie is already like there's some like the homophobic shit that the cops say. The cops are treated like the movie isn't condoning the things they're saying. They're just like these guys are garbage.
right. Yeah, the person that says it is objectively an asshole.
Yes, and that's the same with this moment. Is this cop? I was just like, I can't tell what the movie wants me to think about this moment. Is that a thing that's really happening in the world of the universe? Is it a racist guy calling the cops?
I took it as that.
I mean, I like that better because that explains it.
Look at like a shitty night. It's like, what do you want me to? All right, man. Like,
Right.
Like, I think my neighbor's spying on me. It's like one of those kinds of things.
Sure. Whatever the case, the cops are still garbage.
Oh yeah, they're terrible cops, especially the main one, Brenda.
Is Brenda the romantic lead?
Yeah.
Yeah,
she's baffling. Like
well, so he decapitates a man in the parking garage, and then the cops come. I love that the cops have to come and find the aftermath of this shit.
The cops come immediately.
Yes.
Before you can leave the parking garage. I'm like, who called them?
You're right. They arrest him.
Yeah.
And she's there to just like look at the swords.
She's forensics.
Right.
She's a forensics investigator. But like she knows a lot about swords for some reason.
Yeah.
She never carries her gun. It's in her dresser.
No, she also goes out, like, when she goes to find the evidence again at the parking garage, she goes in the dead of night by herself.
Right, by herself, like, after work hours.
Yeah, and it's like you're a cop. You don't... This is the point of being a cop.
Yeah,
you don't have to do that.
Why wouldn't you do... I don't know. She's a terrible cop. And then we get no romantic connection between her and Connor, and then when Connor reveals that he's immortal, they just bone.
Yeah,
like,
well,
I guess, and there's kind of really no, well, there is after it, but like, I guess it's one of those things. It's like, well, I mean, when am I going to get the chance to fuck a demigod again?
Yeah,
like I might as well.
Yeah, I think we can all relate to her in that moment where he's like, I'm immortal,
maybe
stab
I'll have
me.
a super-powered son or something.
Right, because he has her stab him, which
Yeah,
she just rolls with that. I mean, he puts the knife up to himself, and she doesn't stab him. He forces it.
He stabs himself with her hand on the knife.
Yeah, I would still. The moment someone says I'm immortal and then like holds a knife up to their stomach, I would probably get out of... Like, I wouldn't give them the opportunity to force me to stab them. Because what would probably happen is they would die, and then you're sitting there holding a knife with your fingerprints in a dead person, and you have to explain, no, he stabbed himself. He grabbed my hand, and he made me stab him. That's what happened. And it's not going to work out. So thank God he's immortal, is my point.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, she'd be pretty screwed.
Yeah, for sure.
And then they bone.
They sure do.
Yeah. Which is fine. Whatever. They both seem into it.
Mm-hmm. It's the 80s. He's a demigod.
Yeah,
when am I going to be here again?
I like that every now and then Sean Connery's booming voice shows up to tell him to leave women.
Yeah.
It's like
Please,
perfect,
I beg of you.
It's perfect Sean Connery. Because he
Let
says
her go,
to him,
Highlander.
Yeah, because he's like has a wife when he's Highlander. And Sean Connery's like, you got to cut that shit out because she's going to grow old and die, and you're going to keep living.
It's
and then
be real
he's like,
fucking sad for both.
Right,
of you.
and then he's like, I've had like 6 wives, and it's always been a bummer. And it's like, well, if you're doing it, like, don't tell me not to do it.
He said he had 3 wives, and his last wife, her father made him the katana, and that was in 500 BC. So it's like his last wife was like 2,000 years ago.
Right. So it took him 3 times, and he was like, you know what?
Yeah, I said I need to stop
I'm not
doing
going to do this again. Yeah.
This is not working out for me.
Yeah. That's fair. I get it. It's like getting gerbils for the immortal people. Because they only last a little while, and they're like, you know what? It's too painful. I'm going to stop fucking this gerbil.
Stop bringing home the carnival goldfish. They're just going to die in a week.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not even worth it.
Another police moment is when they remember when they break up the sword fight. The police must be so confused They
With
we
the
haven't
helicopter? Oh, yeah.
we haven't talked about Clancy Brown yet.
We haven't
but,
talked
like,
about Clancy Brown yet.
There's a sword fight. Is that with Clancy Brown? Is that?
Yes, it's when... It's right after she goes back to the crime scene to pull the metal shavings from the thing, and he goes back there to get his sword.
Right, and they meet
and then
at the
runs
bar.
out, and she follows him out of the bar.
Yeah.
And he's like, you need to stop following me. And then they get jumped by Clancy Brown.
It's a great impression. Yeah. And then the cops, because this is like the 80s New York, so
Yeah.
it's just a police helicopter that's out.
Right, I think they're just doing patrols.
Yeah, because at first I was like, what, is the cop following them? And I was like, no. And
No,
they
he's
just
flying around.
And they clearly just saw two grown men sword fighting in an alleyway, and they're like, we should probably step in.
Yeah.
And I love that they just shine the light, and they're like, hey, you guys, stop it. And then one of them just like runs away, and they're like, Dad, get back here. And then that's it. That's all the cops' involvement in that is just like, hey, cut that out. Cut out that sword fighting, you crazy kids. Someone's going to get hurt.
It's you can imagine just flying around. It's like, hey, you hear some clanging? I think I hear some clanging. We better go check out that alley. Radio it, and yeah, we got some suspicious clanging. We're gonna go check it out. And it's
I imagine that's all they
fucking
do, right?
Clancy Brown with a claymore.
Yeah.
It's just
Do you think they just fly around shining lights on various crimes and going like, hey,
Yes.
you, cut that out.
I do believe that's what they do.
Get out of here. Go on.
Knock it off.
Knock it off. Knock that shit off.
Stop it, Clancy Brown.
So Clancy Brown, this is the role of a lifetime. This is
Yeah, it's pretty dope.
forget Shawshank Redemption. He's in that, right? Yeah, he's in that. Forget Starship Troopers. Highlander as the villain, who is why is he so what's his deal?
Clancy Brown?
Yeah, he's just like a real dickhead in this.
Yeah, he's
like
Ramirez mentions who he is. He's like this. He's from an even older clan in like Russia.
Right, he killed a lot of people, and the idea is if he becomes prime Highlander, he'll just bring suffering to the world.
Yeah, if the idea is that the last immortal alive will win the prize, and they don't really explain what the prize is until the end.
Yes.
Only that it will be very, very bad if the Kurgan gets it, because the Kurgan's just this. He's a raging asshole. He's a huge dickhead. He's been a dickhead for thousands of years.
Yeah, it's really like, imagine if like one of the like an 80s punk in a movie just is immortal.
Yeah, pretty much.
Like, just imagine if like the biggest
80s,
dick you
an
know.
80s punk was somehow born in like Yugoslavia in like 1200 AD.
Imagine like one of
BC.
Biff's sidekicks is immortal.
Now I'm picturing an immortal Billy Zane, and that's not a bad thing.
No, that's not bad at all. I mean, I think we all want that, right?
Yeah, who wouldn't? Why wasn't Billy Zane in this movie?
I don't know.
Yeah, so the Kurgan is just this huge piece of shit. We learn that the Kurgan, like after...
Like licks a priest.
Yeah, he does. Forgive me, Father. I am a worm. And then licks his hand.
This is like, it's Clancy Brown like you've never seen him before.
It's such... Man, Clancy Brown is awesome.
Yes, I didn't know he had this in him.
Yeah. He plays Mr. Krabs and SpongeBob. The dude's got
that's
range.
True. Well, yeah, I wasn't surprised because he's a good actor. So it's like, yeah, of course. It's just like I didn't think someone would cast him in this type of role. But again, he's like young, and it's like,
yeah, this is an early role for him, and he's a young big guy. So it's like, well, we need a big, intimidating dude to play this role.
Yeah, he reminded me a lot of what's his name? He plays the alien bounty hunter.
Brian Thompson.
Brian Thompson, thank you.
Yeah.
Like
Shao
he has
Kahn,
a real
another
Brian.
Mortal Kombat.
Yes, another Mortal Kombat.
Yeah, another Mortal Kombat actor.
Yeah, he's got kind of that bone structure, that face.
A little bit, not as angular as Brian. Brian Thompson really looks like an extraterrestrial.
Yeah, like you can see the difference, but it's still like it's a double take moment with seeing him young, because it doesn't match up. Like Brian Thompson is younger than him. But when I saw him for a second, I was like, man, that guy looks like Brian. Oh, that's Clancy Brown.
Yeah.
Fucking terrific.
Yeah, pretty great. Oh, Brian Thompson's in The Terminator.
Yeah, he is. He's the punk.
He's the punk that gets punched through his stomach.
Him and Bill Paxton. Yeah.
Yep.
Oh yeah, terrific. It's yeah.
It's all connected. It's all connected.
It's all connected. This is all coming together.
So the Kurgan kills Ramirez in the past.
Yes.
After Ramirez has trained Connor and explained what immortals are and what the quickening is, and
trained him to fuel wolves. No, deer.
Feeling
a deer. Mm-hmm. Feeling like the heartbeat.
There's like some Force shit in this. I mean, it's post Star Wars. Everybody was looking for that kind of sci-fi fantasy mysticism, and this has a little bit of it in it.
Yes, it certainly
or
does.
a lot bit of it in it.
So yeah, and so they end up sword fighting. What is the prize?
Well, the prize is all the knowledge of the universe.
Oh, right. Okay. That's it, huh?
And you also become mortal.
Wait, you become mortal?
Yes.
Okay, that's interesting okay. That makes sense for when we get into Highlander.
Did you not watch this movie, Dave?
No, I'm pretty sure I watched it, Tom.
He says it pretty explicitly at the end of the film.
I think what it is that here was my primary issue with this movie. Is I found the sword fighting very boring. What was happening is that when plot was happening, I was paying attention, but I think there was like a couple minutes before or after the sword fighting that I would have to like get out of my daydream watching it.
Right.
Where it was like, okay, we're out of this. All right.
It's because it sounds like you stopped paying attention to the plot at like the critical moments.
Well, no, what was happening is like I said, it's just the sword fights. They wore me out because there's nothing that great about them anymore.
No, they're
just two guys wailing on each other's swords.
Yeah, there's some nice set pieces, but the sword fighting itself is not terribly interesting. They're just banging their swords together, which is not how you use most of these swords.
Oh, so you should note, Tom, is that like I said, I've watched this like a couple times. You clearly this has been like absorbed by you, like you have absorbed this film. So you'll have to accept the idea that like sometimes you just miss little things here and there when you're watching a movie for the first time. At least I do. Like it usually takes me a couple of watches to notice certain things.
They're major plot details, though.
Right? Sure.
So I grant you yes.
I will also grant you yes. I was missing major plot details because I was daydreaming while watching this movie.
The prize is that you gain like all of the knowledge in the universe. You know everybody's thoughts and dreams, and like so you can kind of wield that however you choose to wield it. Plus you get to be mortal, and they can have children now and grow old and die.
Okay,
that's the prize.
That's the prize. That's the plot. Mm-hmm. That is the Whatlander.
But I don't think you entirely know what you don't really know what the prize is until he gets it.
Right, and I'm going to say that this movie, again, it doesn't explain as much as it should.
Sure.
And I want to get into Highlander for that reason, because there's something very interesting about in the Highlander section that I want to talk about. So
sure.
we ready for Highlander?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, there's not really much left to go over except that, you know, Connor and the Kurgan have a final climactic confrontation atop a New York City rooftop, and then he cuts Kurgan's head off and gains all the power.
Yeah, and he gains all the power.
He gets attacked by some dope animated skeletons and ghouls. That's giving him the prize.
Yep.
It's pretty sweet. And then there's a shot when he's like getting assaulted by all these ghosts where you clearly see the wires he's hanging from. Like they made no effort to hide them. It's very funny.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
Yep.
That's one where I'm like, oh, is he up? Is he supposed to be on wires right now?
Yeah.
Like, is that part of it? Did he hook himself up to something?
Yeah, they weren't thinking about home video as much in 1986.
And then it ends with him fucking that lady in a field. Not fucking, but they're gonna fuck.
They're like together. Yeah, he takes her to the Highlands where he used to live hundreds of years ago.
Right, and the dude has to rebuild his house because here's the thing: when your wife dies, you don't have to burn your house to the ground. I'm just throwing that out there, but he does.
Yeah,
he just burns his house to the ground when she dies. He's just like, well, time to move on. And it's like, man, that property is going to be worth a lot, buddy.
His mud hut, his 400-year-old mud hut.
I mean that property, like the land. Like he should hold on to that land. He shouldn't just burn his house to the ground and leave. Like if I was immortal, and then I had a wife, and then we grew old, and then she grew old and died. I wouldn't immediately just burn my place to the ground and leave. I would, pack. And I might need, like he should be thinking he's at that point. What is he, like 70?
Presumably, yeah.
So he's got to be old enough to know, like, fucking hold on to this stuff. It's a value.
Well, he didn't want to be there anymore.
Yeah, but
like he wanted to move on from that life and shit. And also in the 1500s, he's not thinking about like future real estate, man.
I know it seemed
he's
like
not fucking thinking about, boy, I can't wait till like Apple gets invented. I should invest in that as soon as possible.
No, but still, like, where is he going? I don't know. He's
going
down his
away.
house
Like
and
he
left.
wanted to leave that entirely behind because it was too painful for him.
Right. Yeah, I know.
So he just destroyed it.
It seemed, I don't know, it seemed selfish.
To who? Like, he's got nothing.
Yeah, but he gets some sheep could live in there. Or like
it's the sheep he just let, they
like
had
he
some
just,
sheep.
He just burned it all to the ground and left.
He just burned his mud hut, man.
It's a good mud hut. That's a perfectly good mud hut.
It's like a 20 square foot hut.
And again, like, I know, like, he doesn't know about real estate then, but he's got to have been kicking himself later, right?
Well, maybe he has a fortune in antiquities, and he just keeps passing on his, like, you remember that bit where she found all of his old birth certificates, and it's like he just keeps leaving himself fortunes to it.
Yes.
So it's like
once the internet exists, I don't think that's going to work out as well for him.
Yeah.
Or computers. I think computers are going to be a real big bummer for him.
Yeah.
I think at some point, well, I mean, he's mortal at the end of this, but I assume because of the sequels that maybe he'll become immortal again. Who knows?
It's one of the big problems of the sequels.
Okay. yeah, I can see that. Because I can just see at some point the government just being like, so we just can't kill you? You're just hanging out? And he's just like, yeah, I mean, just pay me money. I'll tell you a bunch of shit that happened in the past.
Yeah. I'll tell you what Leonardo da Vinci's dick smelled like.
What would happen if... I love that he would have smelled his dick.
Why not?
Yeah, why not?
I'm immortal.
What would happen if you were
things.
like openly immortal? Like if it was just like, yeah, we have like an immortal guy. Like
I don't
Thor
know.
is that.
Well, yeah.
But Thor's like doesn't belong to Earth.
No.
It would be awkward as well.
It would be, which is why he tries to stay hidden.
Yeah. All right. I want to get into Highlander.
Highlander.
Because here's what I think is why this is a confusing movie. Mm-hmm. Is the original draft written by Gregory Wyden. First of all, he wrote it as a class assignment in screenwriting at UCLA.
I see that. Yeah, it was his undergraduate project at UCLA.
Yeah. He sold it for $200,000.
Not bad, my dude.
Yeah, imagine being the teacher, like, yeah, this is pretty good, and then it gets fucking sold. But the script was significantly changed before shooting. It was way darker. Apparently, he could have kids in it, and he was like witnessing the funerals of his kids. Mm-hmm. He had how many kids? 37 kids.
37. Wow.
Big Kevin Smith fan. This Gregory Wyden. Even though, I mean, it doesn't matter. The biggest thing is the quickening wasn't in the first draft. Nor did anything happen when he kills another immortal. Nor was there a prize. Which is kind of like very key parts of this movie that were thrown in the second draft. That's why there's like the quickening and stuff like that. Like I feel like they did that to try to make it make more sense.
To give it some feeling of stakes, I assume.
Yes, but I'm really curious of what the original was like. I assume it was just that it was him dealing with being... Because he was also like a dark killer. Brenda, I don't think, was in it. And
no, it just says she's named something different.
Oh, okay. And I think it's just that it was like they're immortal and then they just don't like each other very much.
Yeah, it said he based it on The Duelists, which is a Ridley Scott film. So I think he was just like these immortal beings who just have a compulsion to seek each other out and fight and destroy each other for some reason.
Okay.
Which I assume is why you would create the idea of the quickening and then the prize at the end. Even though they didn't even necessarily need the prize, it could have just been the quickening. Like each time you kill another immortal, you get stronger, which would have been enough motivation for a character like the Kurgan.
Yeah, it could be like the one.
Right, and all Connor needs to do, the only motivation Connor needs to have is be like, I just don't want to get killed by this fucking clown.
Right.
Like, this guy sucks.
Yeah, this guy totally
He's
sucks.
killing all my immortal friends.
But yeah, it's funny how just like some key mythology wasn't in this to begin with. So, I mean, that's all I have for Highlander, really. We talked about the budget. This movie didn't make much. It made 12.9 million at the box office, and then became like a cult hit afterward. And I think that's why they made more.
Yeah, it presumably did pretty well on video. We'll look for that as we're recording this. But we got to talk about how Queen does the entire soundtrack to this film.
Oh yeah, I mean that's what we named this podcast after, is the Queen song at the beginning. I'm
not sure.
Yeah. That's pretty fascinating.
There's no indication here in the Wikipedia article I'm reading why on earth
maybe they just gave him money.
Queen did it.
And they're like, here's the plot. And Queen's like, oh, we can 100% make an album around that. Because it's great.
The songs are directly related to the film.
Yeah. I mean, fuck yeah. That's like one of the best parts of this whole movie is the fact that they're like, yeah, and here's some Queen.
It's pretty dope, too. They're not like shitty songs.
No, Princess of the Universe is great.
Yeah, and Who Wants to Live Forever?
Yeah, these are songs that you can wake up to and pump yourself up.
Well, Who Wants to Live Forever is a very sad song, but yeah.
You can still get pumped up.
You can still get pumped up for your day. You just be weeping while you're brushing your teeth.
Yeah, it depends on the kind of day you're having. Or you you do Princess of the Universe if you're having like a good day. You do Who Wants to Live Forever if you're like getting up for like a funeral or like to get executed.
Yeah, if you were waking up that day to go to the gas chamber, then sure.
Yeah, listen to it's a good idea.
It's a very specific.
It's a very niche audience. Mm-hmm. The people who are on death row listening to our podcast right now and are like, that is a good idea.
Apparently, the video cassette was a huge hit in the United States.
That would explain why. Yeah, there's got to be a reason why they made more of these and why we're talking about them. Mm-hmm. Like that's the thing is like box office wise, this has no reason to exist in our like zeitgeist, in our nostalgia. But you know, it's here. I think it's because it's so fucking batshit and original.
It's super original, and I can, like I said at the beginning of the. Even with the substantial differences between what the original draft of the screenplay was, like I could see this reading very cool and very interesting. Like I almost feel like watching the movie, like when it got to the final fight, I was like, this might have been a better book.
Yes. I think this needed more explanation. I want to kind of blend us into our final section, Highlander.
Mm-hmm.
Highlander, because the screenplay was apparently inspired by the screenwriter walking. He went to Scotland in the summer, and he saw a suit of armor, and at a museum, I assume, unless they're just laying on the ground there, like
yeah, you just kind of find them around, like squirrels.
Yeah, and he asked, what would it be like if this guy was alive today? And that's it. That's all this came from.
Yeah, and I mean, so.
No. Again, this isn't complaints. This is why I think it works, is because it is original, but it's so. This might be what's going against it. Actually, it's so hard to explain. Like it's called Highlander, and right away we know, like, okay, Highlander. We know there can be only one. They're immortal. But then when you get into the movie, you're like, no, he's called Highlander because he's from the Scottish Highlands.
Yes.
And that has nothing to do with the immortality. Like, I always in my head thought this was like, oh, this is like Scottish legend. And it's like, no, not at all.
No, just him specifically.
Yeah.
The original title was The Dark Knight.
Nice. They should have went with that. It's a lot of choices that are very seemingly random. Egyptian Sean Connery.
That's a weird
quickening,
one. Yeah.
the weird lightning. None of it adds up to a bad thing. It's just when I watch it, I'm like, what is happening? And I had one theory.
Okay.
Which is that I think these movies, as we go on, I want to keep an eye out on this. I think they're better if you imagine that it's all children playing in a recess. Like they're just playing with sticks and they're just kind of making it up as they go along.
Yeah.
And it's just like whoever, like it begins with him being like, no one wants to fight me. And he's like really sad.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, he's like a little kid. Like no one wants to play with him.
Yeah.
And it just sort of from there, I was imagining it all as like kids playing pretend.
I mean, the story is essentially about a man getting bullied for 500 years.
Yeah, pretty much.
Like the Kurg is just a big bully.
Yeah, and it's just like who wins. Yeah, and she's like a schoolyard bully.
Yeah. Like he really, like his only beef with Connor is that he almost killed him that one time and then he got stopped. He's like, fuck, I'm pissed.
Yeah.
Should have had that guy.
And they all kind of pick up like, well, I'm a samurai. Like I'm this. Like they all have like cool their own things, and one of them's like, I'm an Egyptian. They're like, you're not an Egyptian. And I just like it better as imagining it all as just happening in the imagination of kids. And like the cops are like the teachers who are like, hey, cut it out.
Yeah.
Stop fighting with those
stop
sticks.
that sword fighting.
Yeah.
But we're fighting with swords.
Yeah, I could see that. I really, I don't know. Like I think this has as much explanation as kind of any other fantasy thing.
Well, yeah, that's ultimately the truth of this is that why not?
Yeah, it's like, because it's very, like, it's like, well, they're immortal. Why? I don't know. They just are.
Yeah, I mean, you could argue that like Gandalf is like, oh yeah, he's like 600 years old. Why? I don't know, because they're wizards.
He just is. Exactly.
Yeah, that's what their race is. I think what it is, what makes it weird is the fact that he doesn't know he's immortal, and then one day, like the storytelling of explaining it is almost, it's very weird. Mm-hmm. Like we couldn't identify when he realizes he's immortal or becomes immortal. Like you almost just need like a scene where he's like walking in a field and gets struck by magic lightning, and then it's like, you're immortal now, and like that's it.
I think he was. I mean, he was always immortal. He just he got stabbed and didn't die, so his village ran him out, and that's when Ramirez comes and finds him.
Like Harry Potter, where they're like, it comes in puberty, and it's like, got it, you know, like it's that where it was like there was no like it was someone just accidentally learning they're immortal, which is it's a weird thing to happen to you.
I mean, if you were born immortal, that's and you did Ramirez hadn't visited you yet to explain to you that you were immortal, that's kind of how you'd figure it out. It's by like accident.
It's like finding out you can fly. It's just like, there's only one way to find that out.
Right.
And something has gone really wrong right before it. Yeah, it's that, which I get it.
And it's like, well, what's the quickening? Oh, it's just the power life force of all these immortal people. Oh, okay. So why do we all want to kill each other? Well, there's a prize at the end. All right.
All right.
Like it has as much explanation as you need for any kind of like fantasy movie about like we have to go stop the dark wizard.
No, it's true. I think if the sword fighting was more updated,
it needed to be
it would be like John Wick, where it's the same thing. It's just like, we're all assassins.
Exactly. Like
we all have these coins. What does it matter?
Yeah, it's not any more baffling than the John Wick universe. It's just not as they didn't have the same level of choreography.
It's just dated. Yeah, it's just
John
a little.
Wick, yeah.
It's a dated. Like this could actually do well with a remake, I think.
Maybe I like that it is gritty, grainy 80s punk fantasy.
I mean, I love that for the nostalgia. I'm just thinking in terms of like the legacy of this movie. I don't think you're going to get any young people getting into Highlander.
No, but I'd like to keep that same. I'd like to keep that same tone if they did remake it.
Just if they did like an '80s Highlander remake,
or just keep that feel, that like just this real grimy, the graininess. It's just the lo-fi '80s fantasy. Like that's such a strange concept.
Who would you want to direct a Highlander remake?
Woof.
Steven Spielberg.
Steven Spielberg.
Might as well go
No.
for the gold if we're fantasizing.
Well, I don't think Spielberg's right for it.
No,
Because he shoots it like a music video, and it's kind of
Denis
like...
Villeneuve, like the guy who did Blade Runner.
he's the guy to resurrect all these busted
All
80s
these,
properties.
yeah, that's what he's up to. So fucking might as well throw Highlander at him too.
Sure,
I
and
mean,
like
there might
Blade Runner is a kindred spirit of this, and Terminator. Right?
Mm-hmm.
It has that same that grimy 80s cyberpunk science fiction fantasy. So
Yeah.
I mean, this is not on the same level as Blade Runner.
I'm going to go ahead and tell you that there is a Highlander remake script that's been done.
Oh, they've been talking about that for years.
Yeah. It is being, as of 2019, it was being delayed. At one point, they were talking about Ryan Reynolds or Tom Cruise.
Yeah, I remember reading about it probably almost 10 years ago when Ryan Reynolds was involved.
The director of fucking the first of the John Wicks was attached.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah, let's do it.
That would be sweet, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you that it kind of needs the aesthetic.
Yeah.
I think that's what a lot of these properties need. Is like the new Blade Runner works for that reason, is that it feels like it's in that universe where they were like, you know what, Atari.
Yeah,
Doesn't
fuck
matter
you,
if that's
it's Atari.
Yeah, and it was the same with Alien Isolation, where they're like, yeah, it's 70s computers. Fucking
Man,
deal with it.
Yeah, love that.
Yeah, and so Highlander should be the same, where they're just like, yeah, it's gritty 80s. People still smoke inside. Fuck it. Like, let's if we're gonna do Highlander, that's how you do it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'd be into that.
yeah, yeah. They could do a reboot. They could do it like it doesn't have to be a remake. It could be a sequel. You know.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
I think that's Endlander, right? That's... We
What?
don't have anything. I think that's
Endlander?
Endlander. We don't have anything else to talk
at
about.
Endlander.
We're at
Yeah.
Endlander.
I think we did a good job talking about this.
Yeah.
We had very little what's the word? Like criteria, like we didn't have much of an outline given to us for this, which is fine.
Yeah.
So we thought we just see as we go. And I think we got something. So I mean, again, special thanks to James Rainey for
Yeah.
for giving us this opportunity to watch all the Highlanders.
Oof.
I'm very curious to know where this is going to head.
It's oh man. Like I said, like I've said throughout the episode, I like this movie. It's been a favorite of mine for a while. A huge reason why I like it is the sort of punk aesthetic to it, and it's such a weird mashing of fantasy and this 80s grunge cinema, I guess.
Right.
Like street punk cinema.
Right.
The sequels that I've seen are pure dog shit in my memory.
Ooh,
So,
I'm excited then.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting.
Right.
The first thing I'll tell you as a little bit of a fun tease for Highlander 2: The Quickening is that Sean Connery returns for no reason.
Ooh.
For
I didn't know
reasons
they
that
could
are-
get Sean Connery. Holy shit.
For reasons that are never explained in a way that is adequate or satisfactory, Sean Connery returns.
Oh my god. Mm-hmm. That's very exciting.
It was very confusing.
I hope these are aggressively bad. Because if they're just mediocre, that'll be a real shame.
Highlander, this movie is not favorably reviewed. You might have noticed looking it up that I think it has something like a 20-something on Metacritic.
It's gotten better over the years. I think because it's found its audience, you know?
Right. Audience reviews for this film are very high. The critics fucking hated this movie at the time.
Yeah.
But Highlander 2 was and remains considered one of the worst movies ever made.
Ooh, that excites me.
And you know who the bad guy is, Dave?
Who's the bad guy,
Shall I
Tom?
treat you with who the bad guy is?
I want to know. Yeah.
Dave, it's Michael Ironside. Dave,
What is he doing? What is he
Dave.
doing? Does he have a sword?
Dave, Michael Ironside is an immortal swordsman.
Oh, okay, that's exciting. I'm very much looking forward to exploring these Highlander movies.
Dave,
Yes.
his little toady, his grasping toady underling.
Yes.
Dave, it's John C. McGinley.
What is going on?
It's
Why is
Oh
that
my God,
happening?
this movie.
Why are we doing that? Why would they do that? That's great.
I don't know, but they did it.
Oh my God, Highlander 2: The Quickening.
Yep.
And then let's see, Highlander 3: The Sorcerer was done in '94. Oh my God, and Endgame was done. Highlander Endgame is done in 2000.
Yeah, it was after this. They had a semi-successful TV series.
Okay.
And the Endgame, is that what it's called?
Yeah.
That finally brought the lead character from the TV show into the movie universe with Christopher Lambert. But I didn't see that one because I didn't see that one because I wasn't a fan of the show, and like I was just like another like because like the third Highlander movie was such dog shit, and the second movie was such dog shit. I was like, I'm not seeing another Highlander movie.
Okay, I want to tell you. Do you know who's in Highlander Endgame?
No.
Bruce Payne. So,
God damn it!
Yeah.
Why did I miss out?
So we're gonna experience that.
Oh my God! And Mario Van Peebles in the third one. You know what? This is going to be a great miniseries.
Yeah, I'm looking. The future is bright.
The future is so goddamn bright.
Oh man. All right, I guess that's it. Thanks for listening, everybody.
Yeah. You guys, Dave, tell them about our Patreon.
Well, listen, this was a Patreon tier. We have several Patreon tiers, and you can check them out by going to patreon.com/gamefullyunemployed. We have exclusive podcasts there, like Tom and Jeff Watch Batman and Fox Mulder is a Maniac. Mm-hmm. We have movie nights every week that we do. We probably going to have some new tiers coming up too. So again, the future's bright. We got a lot to look forward to.
Oh man.
Yeah. We also got a TeePublic store, tpublic.com/stores/gamefullyunemployed. So fucking check that out. We'll probably have something about Grimace and nipples at some point. I think that's unavoidable.
Yes, that's gonna happen.
Yep. So, I think that's it. And I guess review our shit on Apple Podcasts.
Leave us a review on Apple Podcasts.
Yeah, you could send us, tweet us photos of you wearing our shirts for the fuck of it. I don't know. Do all sorts of stuff. Watch Highlander. It's free right now. Did we mention it's free on Amazon Prime?
If you have a Prime subscription, it's free. So it's actually
free-ish.
If you give Jeff Bezos $100 a year, you can watch it for no additional charge.
Yeah, give that terrible person $100 a year, and then
Jeff Bezos might be an immortal.
Yeah, he could be a Highlander.
Like, that's how he bought that huge yacht. That's why he has $100 billion. He just keeps leaving himself fucking fortunes of gold that he's amassed over the years, I guess. I don't know.
Let's keep
and precious antiquities and paintings and like scrolls from 5,000 years ago. That's what's on that yacht.
Yeah. Oh, it's all coming together.
It's just a trove of the world's knowledge.
We're going to blast this wide open.
Yep.
Our lives are in danger now.
Michael Ironside is going to show up at our door with a sword.
Yep. Oh, what a delight that would be.
You know what? I wouldn't even fight it.
No,
I'd be like, this is how I always pictured it.
Yeah. I would go to whatever paradise that leads me to.
Oh, Valhalla.
To Michael Ironside.
That's how you get to Valhalla.
Right.
It's by dancing on the sword of Michael Ironside.
Yep, that's the only way.
It's the only way.
Yeah.
All right, we should probably stop.